All right, and looks like we are off. I was like, don't worry, I got this covered. It will not be a sword sprite, I'm guessing, or a sword sprite. Good lord, this will be a sword start, rather. Looks like our first chest is going to be just a piece of heart, but I tell you what, this early on in the race, very good to have that. You want to put together a health pool as soon as you possibly can, because until you find an armor upgrade, 3 hearts, unless you are very much practicing either the 3 heart start or doing low percent, 3 hearts can be kind of tough to work with. And it will be a hammer start. This is actually a good item to start with because this item is one part of what you'll need to access the Dark World, and it does tempered sword damage. Oh, wow, and NayIeen finding a bomb right off the start. That's going to be very good for him because he won't have to worry about farming as he goes through the escape sequence. You just need 1 bomb to be able to access the 3 chests in the back. Sometimes you can elect to farm for more just so you'll have them going into the village, but at the very least, unless you want to double back, you need at least 1 bomb here at the start. Now, we see actually a very interesting divergence right off the start. NayIeen going the traditional left. Hesjustaboy actually going right at this point. They're both about the same. Looks like NayIeen's going to be just a little bit faster here. A little bit slower, actually. And just a key in the vanilla chest, but better to find it here because we'll find more items down the road as we go. And now here we see Hesjustaboy trying to attack these green guards, again, trying to find Bob, gets the 8-bomb drop. That actually puts him in a very advantageous position. Now he's not going to have to worry about buying bombs for the village checks or any of that. I mean, he's going to be very ahead with that find. Now, time-wise, NayIeen having a bit of an advantage going down towards Zelda's cell, but again, I cannot point out enough that Hesjustaboy with that 8-bomb drop quite ahead. And it looks like Zelda Cell, just another piece of heart. That's 2 out of 4, so I expect before much longer we will have another heart to put in our pool. Now, both of our runners heading towards the back of escape at this point. We're at the halfway point here, so we've got 4 more chests that we'll need to check before we can make our way into Sanctuary. Sanctuary will actually be the 5th chest and the final one that we will check as part of the escape sequence. Now, if our runners carefully count their items here, if they do not run across a map in any of the first 4 chests, they know by logic that the map is in the final Sanctuary chest. They can actually elect to skip that chest at that point, and that'll save them about 3 to 4 seconds of having to actually make the time to check that chest. All right, now NayIeen making his way through the rope gauntlet down here. Now, of course, both of our runners had found bombs already, but if you did not find bombs yet, that's a pretty good little place to do some farming. You have a lot of chance for bomb drop, a lot of enemies to farm in a very short amount of time, and if you're using limited weapon or limited ammunition weapons, like Cane of Burna, then that's a very good way to do a lot of farming and to conserve limited resources. NayIeen going to be the first to head into the rat room here. The furthest most left rat is the one that has the key. Thankfully, with the hammer, farming that's pretty easy. Again, I cannot say enough. Limited ammunition starts, that can be more or less the final boss of this initial part, just because of how difficult it can be to land a hit on that key rat. Oh no, NayIeen's finding an 8-bomb drop. He better get back there in time because he's going to want to have those bombs. Oh, will it still be there? Will it still be there? It is still there. So NayIeen will also be flush with explosives heading into Kakariko Village. This is a very fortunate turn of events for him. A very fortunate turn of events. Now, we have about a 2-second delay between streams, so even though NayIeen looks slightly ahead, I would say they are about neck and neck. NayIeen popping out of Sanctuary, finishing that movement of that panel at about the 6-minute mark. Hesjustaboy slightly behind, about a 10-second differential, I'd say, at this point. And NayIeen electing to the tree pool, find some small decanters. We don't have a magic-using weapon yet, but I expect we'll run into one very shortly. And bombs from the bush crab. That is another amazing find. Plenty of explosives, although with having 7 bombs, I expect that we have all the explosives we need. And it looks like rupees will be on the lumberjack cave. So not a required Agaseed, at least not yet. Now, if we happen to find lamp, or if we happen to find, lamp, cape, possibly, master sword, that's when we have to start wondering if it's an Agaseed. The other yes-no variable to finding the Agaseed, if we find our Dark World access early, it all but rules out the possibility of a Dark World seed, or a Agaseed, rather. All right, looks like NayIeen heading down into the bottom of Blind's hut here. Hesjustaboy hot on his heels. We'll see what we find down here. Looks like we've got money, bomb capacity, hook shot. Wow, very good item to find early. Definitely will unlock some mobility tech, especially since we don't have boots yet. Unfortunately, that does slightly tilt this toward an Agaseed, simply because hookshot does allow for access to Western Dark World, rather. But again, it's hard to say as of yet. We still don't have a Moon Pearl. All we need is a Moon Pearl and at least 1 lift upgrade, and that will give us our Dark World access. Finding a little bit of money at the bottom of the well. Again, money, and look, our sword. So, again, we have a pretty good set of non-ammunition based weaponry start. Blue mail, also in the bottom of the well. A very good item to find early, given that we only have 5 hearts. It essentially doubles your effective health pool. So now our runners essentially have 10 hearts instead of 5. Very good to find early for the survivability. And like some in chat pointing out, though, finding a sword is one of the items that would be required to get to Aga, although you need to find either the cape or a second sword upgrade to bring that further into logic. Also, remember, lamp is logically required for Aghanim. So still a little bit early to call, but it does portend for the possibility of an Aghanim seed.
Okay, sorry about that. I think we should be good now, as far as technical issues go.
I missed you, Elm. I felt so alone.
It's okay, I'm not going anywhere now.
Oh, I feel better now.
Alright, so it looks like we might be looking at... If we find a glove, we could be looking at a DM play.
Yep, just need a Moon Pearl and Lift upgrade, and we will be good to go at that point. Looks like NayIeen's going to elect to go ahead and pick up those 20 rupees. That'll give him Zora money. But again, to unlock Zora at this point, need either a Lift upgrade or a Moon Pearl. More of the Moon Pearl so that we can set up the fake flipper glitch. Be able to get back there and check Zora's domain.
So the Moon Pearl is required for the water walk, and that's to be able to get into the waterfall cave to check those two chests.
Oh my goodness, you are absolutely right.
But if you just want to get to Zora, then you don't quite need that. But you are leaving the two waterfall cave chests behind. Looks like both of our runners are having issues with the hookshot trick to clip through that block, get the chest in one trip. I think the issue they're having is like when you're partially inside a block, the game will snap you to the nearest 8x8 subtile, which is a quarter of the whole block. So they end up like halfway into it and not able to open the chest. They hit up at the wrong time. This hookshot is proving very nice to take out the mini mold worms.
Yeah, it kills them in one hit, so don't have to worry about... Oh, there's our lift upgrade. I would just need
and
that
the
Moon
Moon
Pearl.
Pearl.
Wow, we do have Dark World access. There we go. Not an Agaseed.
Oh, that was easy.
But yes, to allude to your earlier point, Moon Pearl is required for, like you said, the water walking glitch. Most people will not elect to make that check just for Zora, however, but having that Moon Pearl, you can essentially check everything and at least know what is on the Zora ledge. So at least you get all those checks done without having to make 2 trips to the area.
Yeah, and that ends up working. It actually looks like NayIeen is heading in that direction, so we'll see if he just sticks to Ice Rod Cave or if he's actually playing a fake flip ring all the way to Zora.
All right, we get our pendant spray. Looks like Turtle Rock and Thieves Town are normal pendants. Palace of Darkness is our green pendant location.
I did see Crystal 5 and Ice Palace, so we know our 5 and 6 for that. He's just a boy heading into Hype Cave. It's a good early check to do. It's 5 items.
So far just money and arrows, health, and more health. I give that a 1.5 out of 10.
Yeah, we have a Cave of Disappointment, but it's still 5 items. There could very well be something you need in there, so it's still important to check.
Oh yeah, still a very good check to make. Just unfortunately not panning out this time. But on the same token, it's something you can cross off your list.
He's just a boy taking a pretty interesting route, so he's going straight to the pyramid, and it looks like he may be heading up to Catfish as well. These are checks that, especially if you were not forced to defeat Aghanim 1, it's very easy to isolate this area. But it is interesting. You don't often see this early, and it's paying off big. He found the flute on top of the pyramid.
Wow, I tell you what, that's excellent mobility to have, especially this early. In 15-minute flute, that unlocks so much, and not only that, it makes everything a lot faster.
Yeah, so if he ever wants to get to Palace of Darkness, all he's going to have to do is flute to 5 and take that portal. NayIeen, walking over to the left, gonna check Old Stumpy. This is like a little bit more a conventional route at this point, I'd say. Although, not really gonna be able to get anywhere beyond this. He'll be able to check Digging Game, and then that's kind of the end of the line for this route.
Well, and unfortunately, he doesn't know it, but that flute, he'll want to get to a pyramid as soon as possible because, I mean, like I said, that extra mobility is going to be very good to have. Plus, with Meyer being a crystal, the flute is required to complete this scene. There's no other way to access Meyer other than fluting to 6.
Yeah, the thing about this is the flute is not really an item that's going to mislead the runner because Meyer is a crystal. So it's really nothing bad about Hesjustaboy getting it so much earlier. But we're going to see if Digging Game pays off for NayIeen. The thing about NayIeen's route is, like, he's kind of at a dead end here, but this is a dead end that's also would be accessible from jumping down from Village of Outcast, which we're seeing Hesjustaboy heading now. So it's only a heart container, but these are checks that Hesjustaboy is going to be able to clear out after doing Thieves Town, maybe Skullwoods if he feels so inclined to dip that.
Now, so question then. Neither one of our runners have found the fire rod yet. Do you think that Hesjustaboy will elect to try to dip Skull without that fire rod, or do you think they'll bring it back or come back to it once they found it later on?
That's a good question. It can be tough to decide whether to dip Skullwoods or not. It used to be an easier decision because it used to pay out a lot back in VE20. But we don't see that so much anymore. But there still very well could be something there. I would say Thieves Town being a pendant may be a little bit more desirable to try and look for progression elsewhere.
Looks like we'll have Hesjustaboy electing to do the Dark Room in Death Mountain. This way, now he logically can't access Old Man yet, but this is still a pretty easy Dark Room to figure out. So he's going to be going ahead and picking this up. That way he doesn't orphan this location for later on.
Yeah, and with the sword out, it's pretty easy to see where you are with a little bit of experience at this Dark Room. So interesting thing is that DM is accessible to both runners, but it's only in logic for Hesjustaboy because he's found that flute on the pyramid. So this may be, it's actually quite likely to be where he needs to go to find perhaps the mitts.
Well, and if he finds mitts up here, that will enable him to be able to check all of Death Mountain, both Dark World and Light World. However, he will not be able to check bottom of Tower of Hera or Spike Cave at this point. I mean, he'll be able to get into Spike Cave, he just won't be able to complete it to the end because just the small health pool, and with only one red potion and no immunity item, a little bit difficult to get past that. Also, with no book, cannot check Ether Tablet.
Yeah, the tablets are kind of a tough one as far as isolating them goes. NayIeen found the flippers, the chest game, the Village of Outcasts. That's going to be needed to get into Ice and Swamp. Both crystals that you don't really want to full clear if you can help it. So the difference between go moding them and full clearing them is pretty vast. Personally, I do not like seeing the flippers early on because of that. He's just a boy finding the cane of Samaria in Paradox Cave. That's not immediately useful, but he will need it to get into Misery Mock. Misery Mock? Sorry. Need it to complete Misery Mire. We'll need it to enter Turtle Rock if that ends up being a required dip. We do not know that as of yet. Okay, so he's just a boy. Going to check out Hera. May not be able to complete it. Still does not have a fire source to light the basement torches. But if the big key is available elsewhere, then he will be able to finish the dungeon.
Well, and if he doesn't find the big key in the first two chests, I mean, he'll get that pushback pretty quickly. But he finds it in the basement.
Okay, so now he's gonna hope that the two items in this dungeon, that one of them is not in the basement, because he will have to leave it behind. So...
well, so far, just a big key and a compass. That's two of the dungeon items out of the way here. And a pretty nice little movement strat by He's Just a Boy there, getting that spin attack to kill both the beetles, and then using a second spin attack to kill that third beetle and shift the switch color. Oh, but unfortunately taking a fall here. But the good news is we'll be able to see this little trick from He's Just a Boy again here. Again, that's pretty solid little movement right there, and I don't see that very often.
Okay, so NayIeen finding the lamp in Pendant Thieves Town. And funnily enough, that's also going to put DM in logic for him.
Well, it also is going to take the stress of trying to do dark rooms off of him. Not that they're necessarily difficult, and not that I'm sure that he's not practiced at them, but, you know, that's one less thing that's going to be going through your mind as you do this. You're not going to have to worry about, oh, Lord, I got to try to remember this dark room or that dark room. Also, we'll give him a fire source in case he needs to fully complete Hera.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. That is something that Hesjustaboy does not have.
He's Just a Boy opting to go hammer strats here. 3 hammer pounds on the tail will take care of Moldorm. And a very, very good fight. A very clean fight. Are we headed to the basement? Or should we head? I say, are we heading to the basement or not, because we don't have fire. But it looks like that might be the case. Might be a basement further in the future for He's Just a Boy.
Yeah, so again, NayIeen will be able to check that in one trip. So that could be a big advantage. Because this is, like, the whole Death Mountain area is kind of isolated. Especially Hera is isolated, since you don't have a mirror to get up the normally intended way. So, the want to go back here is not going to be very strong if there does end up being required. So he's just a boy heading into Spike Cave with his newly acquired cape. It's going to let him survive this. And
only
we just
for
see
a bomb upgrade.
Alright, NayIeen making the play up to Death Mountain, so eventually we will see what's in that Harrod basement. Very curious. Meanwhile, he's just a boy, using his flute to get back to Kakariko really quickly. Preparing for whatever he's planning on doing. So we know that the lamp is in Thieves' Town, and as much as runners can learn dark rooms and avoid the need for the lamp in that way, they may actually just flat out require it if the lamp ends up getting the fire rod. Alright, he's just a boy who's making the Skullwoods dip. I'm gonna try and find 2 items from here. Can't get to the back of the dungeon because it does not have a fire rod. Now Kano's really gonna help hold down that switch in the mummy. That room could be real pain. I don't think I saw NayIeen dip into Skullwoods. Okay, this is kind of an interesting route. He's just a boy searching for a key at first to be able to open that left door. Get to this section of the dungeon. What a lot of runners will do is they'll drop down the left hole and come out that way, getting the chest as they go along. I think actually he may have been planning to death warp, but that last piece of heart that he got refilled his health. So that made that less of an appealing option. Okay, and he's gonna check out Bumper Cave. So his acquisition of the cape actually may have pushed him towards the north, and we see the Titan's Mitt on. Alright, so that's going to actually open up quite a bit for him. He's going to be able to flute to Meyer, check that medallion. Also give him a reason to be in the desert area. Can't actually access Desert Palace quite yet. Would need the book or the mirror to be able to do so. But if there's something on the ledge, or perhaps in Agina's cave, I'll be much more inclined to go there. And he doesn't have the mirror, so he can't really do too much to the east. He's already checked Catfish, so he's just gonna go back down. With his Titan's Mitt, I think he could check the blacksmith. So I'm curious if he's gonna dip Thieves' Town or not. We really didn't see much of anything in the front of Thieves' Town, so if he does choose to do first 4, he may opt to go to the back, like NayIeen did. Alright, so NayIeen hookshotting the big chest. Without the boots, cannot bonk back. There is a bomb jump that will get you, but I would say that's just bomb jumping directly to the chest. And like the scary thing about bomb jumping to the chest without the boots is boots can be used to widen pixel window that you can stand on. So if you time a bonk into the wall correctly before the bomb hits you, you can bomb jump from a 6 pixel window. If you do not bonk, then you are stuck with a 2 pixel. And NayIeen getting a bit too aggressive on Moldorm, getting middle hold. Drops you down 2 floors. Really would rather avoid falling there if you are going to fall. Alright, so he's just a boy. Momentarily going to ignore the smith so that can check the digging game. A digging game will not let you play if you have a follower. The smith in particular is not really a follower you can get rid of without turning him into his final destination.
I've also noticed, at least on the digging game, that even if you leave the purple chest behind, the guy guarding the digging game still won't let you in. So it's something you can't do with anything that you've picked up. Not even the, like I said, not even purple chest. Even if you leave it behind, you will still have to come back to the digging game at a later point.
Yeah, you actually have to completely lose it, and I think the main way to lose the chest is to mirror and leave it in the other world. Alright, so he's gonna take this frog on a tour. I don't think it's gonna be a very long tour, because he's really only got Stumpy to get. He's checked Type Cave already. Cannot check Bombos Tablet. Cannot dip Swamp or anything like that. And having the flute, he'll be able to get to Kakariko very quickly.
Oh, yes. Now, I will be curious to see what is in the basement of Hera, because this is the one place NayIeen can check that Hesjustaboy can't check yet.
Alright, if this is Fire Rod, I am like... I really want to see Fire Rod here, because that would just completely turn this around.
Sadly, only a little love for you.
Not that NayIeen is really behind. It's hard to call advantages at this point, but this would have been very significant.
Well, what it boils down to eventually is just efficiency and time that's either lost or gained checking locations. With Hesjustaboy having the flute right now, that... Wow! Well, hello, Bo. So, that's a pretty good bit of information for Hesjustaboy to have. Now that means that he'll need to have the mirror or the book to be able to get to the bow, but wow, what a find.
Yeah, knowing where it is really helpful. I think the bow is one of the better items to know the location of, but perhaps not be able to grab. Oh, and the book is right there, so he's gonna be able to get that bow right away. But just knowing where the bow is not, like if you... Actually, now that I think about it, it doesn't give you that much info. Because if you see it, like, let's say you're still looking for the Book of the Mirror in this instance, those could still be in Eastern or Pod, so you still could have to double dip them.
Well, with finding the book, I expect Hesjustaboy is going to go here and at least take a peek in Desert while he's here. Now, it could still be boots locked, but it may not be. And if it's not boots locked, you might want to go ahead and cross this dungeon off his list.
The information, if it's boots locked or not, is still going to be useful. Though he still doesn't have a fire source. He still doesn't have the lamp from Teastown.
Oh God, you're right.
So he actually can't beat this dungeon. I really do think this seed has a lot of potential to be getting the fire rod behind the lamp.
Well, we will see momentarily. Oh my goodness. So far, just a red rupee. That means that with not finding a big key or a small key in that one, this dungeon is effectively boots locked.
Yep, and he knows a key of some kind is on that torch based on that. And it doesn't really matter to him which kind it is, so he's not going to have a look for now. But he is going to get that bow. So, like, this is a great way to get the information. Like a really reasonable double dip of Desert. Also, I guess he almost forgot about Agina's Cave. It's easily forgotten about. I've done that myself several times. But whenever you're in this area, it's basically when you want to check it, unless you want to gamble on it as your early game location. But it's easily forgotten about. Has contained some pretty important items.
I notice a lot of players will actually go to this one first, just because even though it's a time loss, finding progression here, because it's a less common play to make. If you find progression there, like when you're still checking your early items and your early check locations, that's got something that can give you a fairly sizable advantage depending on what you find. Of course, this time it's only $5.
It really does depend a lot on what you find. And this might be perception bias, but I feel like when I miss items there, it's usually something like the Cane of Samaria or Ice Rod or a medallion. So things that help you very late game, like potential last go mode item, but something that if you find at the start of the game is not really going to help you.
Looks like NayIeen finding Quake in Waterfall Cave.
Yep, and that is the Misery Mire medallion, so that opens that up. NayIeen can actually... He's gonna have to find that flute on the pyramid, and this is kind of interesting. So since NayIeen is doing the Zora check from... Sorry, hold on. I was gonna say, since he's doing the Zora check from the Light World, might have less of an opportunity to go to the pyramid and pick up that flute, but doesn't have the mirror to do Catfish into Zora anyway, so that's not really an option. So
that's true. He may elect to leave pyramid off until he can try to do, the Fat Fairy check, or if he ever decides to make a play on Pod, he may elect to go ahead and check pyramid through that route. Because remember, he doesn't have the flute. He won't have it until he makes that pyramid check. So you can't really just flute to 5 to do it.
Yeah, it's very true. But it looks like he is going to the eastern area, so we could actually see dips of both dungeons. Hesjustaboy, having his bow, has made the easy decision to go and clear out Red Crystal Eastern at this point.
I'd say that's a pretty solid play to make. I mean, because you need to do it anyway. The only other way you could make it more efficient is to route it in with Pod. Now, Pod's a pendant, but Pod's also a green pendant, and we were talking about confirmation bias earlier, and I say this a lot in my commentaries. It seems like green pendant dungeons seem to carry a lot of weight lately. It seems like there's usually something very important in there. So this will be very interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, I don't know. Perception bias is a crazy thing because I would disagree based on the fact that I had 3 tournament races in a row that had pendant Eastern. 2 of them were green pendant, and I never set foot any of those.
It'd be interesting to see if somebody could actually compile the statistics on it. It'd be great to see the percentages on that.
A lot of the percentages that are like actually useful would be given situations. So, like for example, we know that I think Agina's Cave and Ice Rod Cave are locations that are 17% likely to have progression. These are Spear 1 locations as well. But the thing with that is that that's in a vacuum. That's given no other information about the seed. The more information you get about a seed, the more it skews those percentages and the more that they're actually useful in those situations. But that's just a ridiculous amount of data to compile.
Oh yes, it'd be a lot of parsing to go try to sift through that as well.
Alright, so he's just a boy. Getting through this Eastern Darkroom. The bat can be a little bit tough. There's a lot of enemies in there. Really easy to lose track of that Igor.
Yeah, trying to do that room in the dark, it's you have to do a pretty dedicated setup to be able to get to it.
Yeah, you kind of, at least what I do is I muscle memory it. I try to do it the same I would if I could see. But then you kind of have to account for like the variance of just not knowing exactly where you're going.
Oh yes. Interesting pickup for He's Just a Boy. Getting that full magic container, believe it or not, that will save him some time here at the end. Because it'll actually reduce the amount of time that he needs to completely refill after picking up this crystal. It's not a huge time save, but it does provide some bit of a time save there. A few frames.
Yeah, so I believe it takes 10 frames to refill each heart that you're missing, and it takes 1 frame per magic tick that you're missing, and your magic bar I think is 128 ticks. I might be wrong about that, it might be 60. But they both refill at the same time, so whichever one you're missing more of is basically your bottleneck as to how much time you're losing. This doesn't matter at all, it's just frames, but that is how it works.
Frames are frames, though. 1/60th of a second per. Those do add up after a while. Especially with He's Just a Boy having 1/3 of a meter there. That, like I said, it's a bit of a time save. It's a micro save, but it's still a save.
So I think we saw NayIeen dip Eastern and then nope out of it.
Well, with no bow, can't really complete it, so gonna have to come back to it.
The thing is, he was in the area for pod to go into that portal, so that may have been a worthwhile dip. Like from his point of view, of course. So this is the part where we see He's Just a Boy's decision to go to Pyramid early and find that flute really, really shine, because he's able to do Easter with no problems. NayIeen lost a significant amount of time there, and if he were to dip pod afterwards, then it'd be fairly natural to, if not finding anything there, route in the Pyramid and cap. If he wants to go to pod at this point, he's going to have to walk all the way back there too, because he doesn't have the flute.
And given just the way it sets out, I'm betting that if pod enters his brain, he's going to almost certainly check Pyramid first. So, yeah, like you said, that's going to set NayIeen back finding the flute just a bit more, and that is going to be unfortunate for him.
It was honestly like a really, at least the way I see it, he was extremely lucky for He's Just a Boy to find the flute when he did. It didn't necessarily mean a whole lot at that time, because we didn't know what was behind the flute. But the bow in particular, just it was probably the perfect item for Flute to be blocking.
Oh yes, it laid out quite nicely for He's Just a Boy.
Because the bow is significant for the area of the game that's closest to the pyramid.
Well, and not only that, but the bow is hard locked. It's not an optional item in any seed.
Right. Like NayIeen's he's not gonna have trouble finding that bow once he gets his flute. Is finally going over to the Titan's Mitt location. So actually, this may lead him to Dark Death Mountain. Like, you get the mitts, you don't have the flute. The flute incentivizes your Mire check. Well, it enables it, but it also gets you your desert check as well.
Yeah, because with the book being behind, behind the flute location, NayIeen's not going to be able to get into desert even, or to get to the bow until he finds those items. So, like you said, creating like a hard checkpoint. And I'm like you with finding the mitts. NayIeen may find himself driven towards Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, like really the only reason He's Just a Boy is doing it now is because having the flute, he had better options earlier. Now, they are actually going to be equal as far as how useful their item sets are for Dark Death Mountain. So if NayIeen chooses to go to Dark Death Mountain right after this, he won't be losing time over He's Just a Boy by doing so.
Right, at that point it's a time-neutral check. Relative to his opponent. And looks like
He's Just a Boy.
Quick.
I think He's Just a Boy realized right after he jumped off that he should have opened that. Because he doesn't have the mirror, so he's not going to be able to get back to the light world without walking all the way there. Unless, of course, it's Hookshot Cave and he lucks out.
Well, so far, looks like a tempered sword. And what do you know? How about that? It's not
Well,
going to penalize him too heavily. What's the saying? It's better to be lucky than good. Boy, I tell you what, that's some really good luck right there.
He's definitely been very lucky this seed.
You know what?
But
we
also,
were talking at the beginning of the race. We were talking about how luck is a heavy component of these. I mean, it's true. It's you've got to have some luck on your side when playing Randomizer. I mean, unless you're just able to really intuit the logic. But I mean, that's a little bit of luck never hurt anybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's intuiting the logic, and there's also like the fact that he checked the pyramid 15 minutes in, and it had like something really, really important. And I mean that is like making that play is a conscious way to like cover your options. Go to something that you may very well isolate later, but really paid off. He's going to take that mirror and go into the swamp. He actually... So, like, he could have dipped Turtle Rock. He could have dipped Turtle Rock and checked that first chest in it, I believe.
Yeah, he could have, but, I mean, and of course the Fire Rod very well could be there, but I do like this swamp play. I mean, you've got 6 items here, odds are you're going to find something you need. So I do like the fact that he did not dip TR, although he, that could very well come back to bite him later on.
I would have very much liked to see the Turtle Rock there. I think he may have just like put it out of his mind, having jumped off without opening. I really think he did realize he made a mistake there because he paused after he jumped off. So I kind of hope NayIeen dips. So like the interesting thing is NayIeen is climbing up via the Dark World, and this is faster in a sense that you can get the Super Bunny cave chest without doubling back. But if Turtle Rock is has the medallion that you have, you cannot just mirror to it. He does find the mirror, and he's saving and quitting. So nobody's going to be checking out Turtle Rock.
We'll have to wait until later to figure out what was in it. I expect NayIeen's going to be hot on He's Just a Boy's heels here and going to go straight for that swamp right.
Yeah, just following He's Just a Boy. I really think that Turtle Rock entry could have been what he needed to come back. Because he's just finding a lot of things that are leading him away from that flute on the pyramid. NayIeen actually going to check Grove Cave with his newly acquired mirror before dipping swamp.
It's not necessarily a bad idea.
I like this, but I like this play a lot more when you're a lot closer to go mode.
That'll be another bottle of blue goo this time, so not a, that's a good item to have, but, it's not going to help him as far as his progression goes.
Right. But yeah, like, if you're closer to go mode than NayIeen is right now, that cave has a lot more potential to enable you to skip left side swamp.
Or you mean for finding something like, say, an ice rod?
Yeah, something like that, if that's what you're down to. Although, we're very unlikely ice rod.
Oh wait, that's right. It's a pendant in TR. Ice Rod is not required for this seed at all, unless progression's on Trinex. Which we can't exactly. Well, I don't think we can necessarily rule out at this point, can we?
We can't rule it out for sure. We still have a lot of items that we need. I say a lot. I think it's actually just Fire Rod.
Well, and Trinex can't hold the Fire Rod because you need both fire and ice to beat him. So the only way that Trinex will come into a factor here is if Trinex is holding boots.
And if boots are required for that 1 out of 22 be key location in Gaines Tower on the torch.
Well, but remember, Desert is boots locked as well.
Oh, you're right. So we actually do still need the boots.
Boots will be a hard requirement for the seed. So yeah, if boots are on Trinex, this will be very interesting.
So one other thing that...
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, one other thing that sticks out to me right now is we have our second red crystal at Ice Palace, but we cannot get in the front door because of no way to melt the freezer. So we're either holding out for Fire Rod for that, or the last remaining medallion, which is Ball Mode. It is the only way that that medallion is going to come into play without being required to open one of the dungeons.
Looks like He's Just a Boy going to go back in and check the left side swamp. I do like this simply because I prefer the very thorough play style. I mean, you definitely, as much as you still need, you don't want to leave out of here and orphan a location like that. Especially since left side swamp is so much of a time sink anyway. Better to go ahead and get it done now than gamble it not having anything and have to come back later.
I feel like that's one of the more divided opinions. Like, Swamp is just... Left side Swamp in particular is just really touchy. It's just enough of a time for 2 items. Just be like really pivotal on whether you want to, when you want to do Swamp, really, because you want to maximize your chances of not having to do left side if you don't have, and you want to maximize also the information that you have over the seed that is suggesting whether or not left side is a good idea.
Well, and while we've found Ether in here, I mean, we really haven't found anything else that's like hard required for progression, unless I just missed and forgot something. I mean, what could we hope to? I mean, what could we hope to find on Left Side Swamp? You know, what would you think if anything's going to be in here? What are we going to be looking for?
I'm going to say again, bomb it to open eye. If we find that fire rod somewhere, it's not going to be required, but I am starting to think that this seed has the potential to be a little mean.
Well, and to tell you what, I've actually had a couple races where the fire rod's been on like Bombo's tablet, and thankfully that's a very easy location to check once you're coming out of Swamp. I mean, just walk right over one screen to the left, mirror, and there you are.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And he's just a boy dipping out. He knows that the map is in the big chest, so yep, there we're done. I think he's gonna go check Bumbo's tablet.
There's no better time to check it, really.
I'll be interested to see what we find. Money.
Okay, so Swamp turned out to be an absolute bust.
Yeah, other than a crystal, nothing really found here.
Turtle Rock is like really lighting it for me. Although actually, so the mirror will allow. No, never mind. I was gonna say it lets Hesjustaboy get into desert, but we've already been in desert.
Well, as far as crystal dungeons that are completable, Meyer is still on the table.
That's true. Actually, kind of surprised that he's not going straight there. Now that I think.
Well, in the go mode of Meyer, depending on big key placement, the go mode of Meyer versus the full clear, it's highly variable, but it's not a huge differential. It's not like on the same order as, say, Ice Palace or Swamp Palace. But again, it all comes down to big key placement. I mean, if you get the Godmire and get the big key in that first chest, I mean, then it's, you know, yeah, go mode is vastly quicker than full clear mode.
Yeah, you really have no way of knowing either way before you dip into the dungeon. So, some like to assume that Meyer is just probably going to be a full clear anyways. But chat rightfully pointing out that Hesjustaboy still does not have a fire source, so
He will
would be
soon.
locked out of left side Meyer. And it's a great reason to not go there.
Yep, that is a good point chat making there, and it's so odd. I guess we're so used to finding fire sources early. You and I both are forgetting about as far as how fire plays a factor here. I mean, it's kind of odd to go this deep in, at least for Hesjustaboy to go this deep and still not have found a fire source.
Yeah, he's gonna find it soon though. It is lamp is in the Easttown big chest. And that's going to be pretty much that is going to be all of NayIeen's advantage gone.
Yeah. I think NayIeen might be heading towards the pyramid, which is going to be very good for him.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be so. He could definitely get back in this. Hopefully, he doesn't go to pod first, but I don't think he will. Alright, so he's going to be finding a flute, I think 45 minutes later.
That's about right.
That's going to lead him directly to the bow.
So now, what do you think the logical play for NayIeen is after finding that flute and after going to pick up his bow? Do you think he'll take a check into desert, or where do you think his next move is going to be?
Let's see. I think fluting to Meyer is the very clear play at this point to do the medallion check. Because he still doesn't. He doesn't know what the Meyer medallion is. It could be Bombos, so he could need to look for that. He's going to find out that it's Quake. He's also going to be able to just mirror to desert and that bow there. Not actually going to have to travel through the dungeon to get it. But at that point, being outside, I would likely dip in just to see if boots are required.
Now, question: did Hesjustaboy check checkerboard cave?
Checkerboard cave?
Mm-hmm.
He needs to activate the flute to get to the Meyer area first.
No, I'm talking about Hesjustaboy, who's already been to the Meyer area. Did Hesjustaboy?
Oh, okay.
Checkerboard.
Yeah, because he didn't have to at that time.
Oh, so that's another potential advantage that NayIeen could claim, depending on what is there.
Yeah, so one thing that's kept this race really good, despite seeing significant advantages on one side, I would say for most of it, is there's always those, the divergence has left a few holes for both runners.
You get in
not having certain items to clear certain areas when you're in them.
Well, and that tell you what, that opens up a whole lot of what ifs.
So I don't think Hesjustaboy is going to miss out on the checkerboard check, but he may end up doing it quite a bit later. He is going to be able to go to Meyer right after this. So he's got that fire source. No reason he can't complete it now.
Well, NayIeen's going to give us a small sneak peek at it. And we have just a piece of heart.
Man, a lot of these one-off locations could be giving you an advantage, and they're just not paying out.
About the only one you've got left, unless there's another one. Well, actually, there's a couple I can think of. Both of them are on Death Mountain. The first chest in Turtle Rock and the Ether Tablet.
Yeah, the thing is, he's already made the decision to pass those up. I guess the book actually could lead him back there, since he didn't have it the first time.
Well, NayIeen going to find this red rupee here and going to bail at that point. And Hesjustaboy going to be checking the purple chest, which, talk about your one-off locations. I mean, that very well could have something.
We also haven't seen the Graveyard Ledge yet. Hesjustaboy is walking quite a ways to get to it. Since the routing they've both done thus far has done a really, really good job of isolating the graveyard. So he's probably somewhat worried about it.
Well, you always have those locations to go through your mind. I mean, those one-offs can come up and bite you pretty quickly.
Has anyone made a Bohemian Rhapsody joke about Hesjustaboy? Well, I would like to point out that he does have over 1,000 rupees, so I'm not sure such a joke would be appropriate.
Only a quiver in the purple chest. So yeah, these one-off locations, nobody's having them paid off yet. Let's see a little bit of synchronization here. They'll both be in Mire. Hesjustaboy trailing just behind NayIeen on these locations. Some money. That's the only item we've found so far here in Mire, I believe.
So these extra checks that Hesjustaboy has done on the overworld, not paying out, actually really evened the gap between these two. So his main advantage right now is he's done those checks, so he can't get baited for with them a second time, and he is completed.
Yep.
So he's still ahead, I would say.
Well, and with NayIeen finding both items, at this point, NayIeen knows that there's nothing to be had here. So all we need to do is just go down and grab the crystal at this point and bail.
It's really crazy to not, like, really any indication of the fire rod or even bombos at this point.
I'm really starting to think you might have been onto something with that first chest in Turtle Rock.
I'm trying to think what the other options would be. I don't think anybody has gone into Palace of Darkness. Pendant Palace of Darkness is a really tough one to deal with because it has a lot of items, but it's also a very large time sink. And it's kind of hard to get clues as to if the seed wants you to go there or not, because aside from the bow, the items that unlock the locations in it also unlock a lot of other stuff. So like the hammer, hammer and lamp, they're both pretty weak indicators of anything really specific.
Yeah, like you said, logically, there's just so many places they point to. I can see why you'd be hesitant to go back to Palace of Darkness. And especially in Hesjustaboy's case, because he's already finished off Eastern. He really, I doubt, wants to go back to that part of the map.
Hesjustaboy having some issues with the torches. Each of them lighting out in turn as he lights the one before, so having that little pause every single time.
Yeah, that can get aggravating after a while. So NayIeen going to go ahead and cross Mire off of his list. Yeah, What's the play at this point? Well, you know, he's actually got the stuff to full clear Eastern. I wonder if he's going to go try to route Pod and Eastern together.
I think that would be the play for him, from his point of view. He's just a boy. I'm not too sure what he's going to do. He may opt to go to Pod. It is a lot of items. Yeah, the reason that I wanted the runners, at least one of the runners, to dip Turtle Rock when they could, was because it's not going to be an attractive option to go all the way there for that dip at any other point. Like, there's no guarantee that they could even get past the first chest. So I think Pod is going to be the eventual play for both of the runners, and it may pay off, it may. But if Turtle Rock were to have paid off much earlier, that would have been absolutely huge. I still really want to see Fire Rock Palace.
He's just going to have to be very careful with Vitreous, making good use of that red potion here. Yeah, this fight can get away from you real quickly, especially if you've got low health. And if you're trying to employ them G-strats.
Definitely a rough time for him trying to eyeball those spins. Okay, so we're finally going to see side Pod.
Well, maybe not just yet.
Oh yeah, that's right, he hasn't done. Okay, so we may see it from He's Just a Boy first. I do think it's very likely he'll go straight there after Checkerboard.
Well, as far as item density, unless I'm forgetting something, it is the most dense place he has yet to go.
I don't know. I think it's a pretty... Anything really dense about it?
No, I mean, as far as item density, it's, you've got about... Wait, is that another pun you're making?
It might be. I don't know. When in doubt, just assume it is.
Yeah, the well's getting a little bit dry here. Looks like... Yep, He's Just a Boy going to be trailing over behind NayIeen, so they should be entering Pod about the same time.
I'm a little surprised at how many one-offs he's checked.
Well, with no fire, Fat Fairy's still completely out of the picture. So yeah, you've got basically got Palace of Darkness and then a bunch of singles.
Depending on how this fight goes for NayIeen, we might actually just get a perfectly synced Pod entrance. Like this is actually pretty insane.
Yeah, very insane.
And that's it. We're evened up.
Yeah,
It's Just a Boy is going to be going a little bit ahead.
I mean, because neither one of them really has an advantage over the other one. They're
all done.
They're dead even.
Actually, well, He's Just a Boy still has a slight advantage, I would say, because he's done more of the out-of-the-way checks. NayIeen still has the potential to get baited. But we're running so low on places that progression can... it's pretty likely that something is going to be... And that something is likely going to keep NayIeen from getting baited by the checks that he hasn't done.
Let's see if we find Fire Rod and or Boots in here. Well, actually, if we find both of them, then yeah, this race will be locked in a dead heat at that point, and it'll come purely down to execution. Unless there's something I'm forgetting for logic as far as go mode. I think that's the only 2 items we need.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm interested to see if these guys route pod any differently.
We will see. I think it's going to depend a lot on finding the big key, where that's going to be, finding who knows the hammer yump, who doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of factors at play here.
Not having the boots to bonk back onto the bridge chest. And that's actually pretty huge for funneling to go this way and down the bombable bridge.
Yep. So far, they've routed it exactly the same, and just like you said, no boots, can't bonk back to that chest, so you'll have to mirror out and get it on the other side.
Yeah, so I think based on that, they're going to continue to route the same way.
Keys aplenty, so we're heading to the back. That's where all the good stuff is. Back, that's where all the good stuff is. The front half literally has nothing. No real need to do the hammer yump here, though. Yeah, it's I think Dr. Bob was the one that originally coined it as Mullet Mansion because it's business up front and all the parties in the back. I could be wrong about that, though.
I think that was him, but I don't think I'm old enough to repeat that phrase.
Fire Rod! There's one!
Okay. So that eliminates the Bombos troll, at least. We're still looking for Boots.
Yep, Boots is it.
Boots can be in a heck of a lot more locations than the Fire Rod.
And again, if we find it in here, folks, it's a race. I mean, it's already a race, but boy, it'll really be a race.
Yeah, this does make Turtle Rock more attractive. The only way that that would have turned the race earlier is if they're at this point. We still have an opportunity for them to be on pedestal.
No, we don't!
No, we don't. All right.
It's a race, ladies and gentlemen. It is on at this point. That is go mode. They're both in go mode together. This is... Wow, this is a race at this point. It's pure execution from here out.
That is... Okay, that is... I have seen plenty of simultaneous go modes. And usually, it's when someone is up a crystal dungeon or two.
Yeah, no, these guys are pretty well dead even. He's Just a Boy is going to be heading to Skull Woods. NayIeen is going to be headed to Ice Palace.
This is actually probably the thing I wanted to see most. It was like the biggest chance of getting a close race here.
Well, you got your wish. Whew! Wow, this has got me on my edge. I mean, this is wow. This is exciting.
So I'm not sure if He's Just a Boy speedruns the vanilla game, but as I said much earlier, NayIeen has been working on it quite a bit recently.
Well, again, it's execution at this point. You know, how well are you about your tricks? How good's your Ice Palace bomb jump? You know, how's your Mothula fight? A lot of stuff in play here, and it's all stuff that you can practice. So, yeah, we will see who's got the good execution here.
Hesjustaboy getting trolled by that fire snake in the entrance of Skullwood. Usually want to set up a key dash by nudging the block. That sets your that like resets your aim of your dash to be from a pixel multiple of 4, so that when you touch the door, you're on the animation frame of Link where he doesn't actually make contact with it, but still opens, still unlocks the door. So that's how key dashes work. You're on the 1 frame of Link's animation. He won't slam into the door.
NayIeen getting the bomb jump the first try.
Oh, that was really sketchy.
Oof.
He lifted that pot in the bottom right corner from below. It's very easy to fall in the hole if you do that.
Ooh, boy, and not only that, Hesjustaboy finishing Mothula with 1.5 hearts. I mean, these guys, I think they're trying to give us a heart attack.
I'm not sure what kind of other resources Hesjustaboy has, or if he has anything in his bottles. I think he might not, actually.
Alright, so Hesjustaboy going to be heading to Ice Palace, NayIeen getting ready to finish up, and then he'll go to Skull Woods. Like I said, it's still dead even.
Yeah, so I guess they're both going to be doing Desert Palace last. Alright, let's see how this Cold Stir fight goes for NayIeen. It's a pretty volatile fight. If you mess up the initial spin or you don't keep them in the corner quite correctly, they can really cause you trouble, but that was an excellent fight.
That is a spot-on Cold Stir fight. You just about can't do it better than that. I mean, that's almost perfect.
Yeah, the only way you can really do better than that is by doing the poke dash and double spin strat, which is pretty advanced and only saves a second, if that. The main thing that made NayIeen's fight as good as it was, kept those eyeballs in the corner, was that he released the initial spin close to as early as he could. And what that does is it gives you more time to move after you hit the eyeballs, so you can set up your slashes better.
And like I said, it's a minor optimization, but yeah, it's definitely an optimization. NayIeen keeping cool under pressure here, remembering he needs the big key. He's not making that knee-jerk reaction go straight to the back.
Oh yeah, I've done that before. It's
so
really
I've
easy
done
to
that
do
more
that.
than once.
I feel like when I hit go mode, I go into a completely different state of mind, and like I guess the blood is just flowing to places other than my head. So
It's just you get so excited, you just become single goal oriented at that point. It's like, okay, I'm in go mode. It's time to plow straight to the finish, and that forgetting little details like that big key required in desert, yeah, that can come back to haunt you. So thankfully, NayIeen keeping cool under pressure.
yeah, I actually I forgot that I needed a small key from pod right side in my last tournament race, and that cost me quite a bit.
Well, and speaking of what we were talking about with NayIeen, remembering that my race against Seven Sins actually PB'd in that seat, but I got all the way to this door where NayIeen is at, forgot I didn't have the big key. Had to dip out and go get it again. I mean, it cost a good minute and a half in time. So yeah, it's Let's just say been there, done that.
Alright, let's see how He's Just a Boy's Cold Stir fight goes.
NayIeen missing a couple fire rod shots, gonna have to come back and kill Landmola's the old-fashioned way. Ooh, He's Just a Boy, gonna have to be careful.
He had a much rougher fight. When he did the spin, he didn't knock them in a very good direction. He also did the spin quite a bit later, so he had less time to react afterwards. So, didn't quite get them in the corner, and the eyeballs were just able to rush him at that point.
Yeah. He's Just a Boy might be able to make up a little bit of time if he gets a little bit better Landmo luck than NayIeen had. So,
yeah, that fight's actually... Yeah, it's very luck based. Like if you have Tempered Sword and or Fire Rod, you can one cycle them, but if you don't, because they do short hops around for very long, that's really no fault of your own.
Yeah, as far as which runner's ahead, we're not gonna know until they sync back up when they make their climb for Death Mountain and Ganon's Tower. Yeah, so we're not going to know who exactly has the lead. We just have to guess at this point. It's uncallable right now.
My money is on NayIeen right now just because of how I've been watching him play the past few minutes. I did say they were going to both be doing Desert last, but I guess I was wrong about that.
Yeah, we'll
so like not only did they get to go mode within seconds of each other, they were on equal footing at that point. They had the exact same amount of progress.
Mm-hmm. A question: when NayIeen got the big key off the torch in Desert, did he mirror out?
Pretty sure. That is what you want to do.
Oh yes.
Did He's Just a Boy not do that? I may have missed that.
No, he did, but I just wasn't even paying attention to NayIeen's screen. It just occurred to me, like, did NayIeen not mirror out? And I don't know.
I think I've forgotten to do that before. Not being too used to rando in the early stages. Not really thinking about using the mirror to route Desert Palace more efficient.
Wow, NayIeen smokes Mothula. I mean, that again, just about optimal. I mean, that was he burned through Mothula.
He got very lucky with Mothula not getting knocked into spikes. Mothula will take 0 damage if you knock him into a spike, overwriting your sword damage.
Tell you what, He's Just a Boy did a 2-cycle Landmo as opposed to NayIeen's 3. He made up a little bit of time there. Missed a fire rod shot, but very excellent recovery. So, with that being said, kiddos, it is time to play a game. You all know this game very well. There are 22 chests in the bottom of Ganon's Tower. The big key can be in one of these 22 locations. Your job is to try to guess where it is. So get your guesses in chat now, 1 to 22. Elm, what do you think is going to be today?
So the big key is one of the earlier things that's placed in Ganon's Tower, so it's pretty unbiased. So it's hard to say where I think it's going to be. Because nothing really has too much bearing on it, but I will say, let's go with 14 today.
Bob's chest, okay. I'm going to do what they do in Price is Right, and go 15.
Oh, that's not very nice of you, but...
I'm sorry. Plus it's vanilla, and I always think the vanilla location is the trolliest. That means they'll have to kill Armos. So yeah, that's why I'm going 15.
Yeah, I mean, they could potentially, with the vanilla location, they could have potential to route it differently. They most likely won't, but someone could skip right side and go full left. Someone could go full right for whatever reason. It kind of depends on where keys are, though.
Wow. Oh, and I think he's just a boy with having that bad luck with the dead rocks rattling him just a little bit. So NayIeen does have the advantage going into Ganon's tower. But that's easy to happen, too. We've all been there.
Alright, so we have a key in the map in the first two chests. NayIeen is choosing not to take the key into the right side, choosing to go left, so that we may see a divergence here that actually, depending on what Hesjustaboy does, may decide the race. Because I would have gone right.
Now, see, I would have done what NayIeen's doing, and I would have gone left. So again, we'll see what would have paid off. Oh, this is still just very exciting. I mean, it's way too close to call at this point.
I'm actually not really sure how the runners feel about how they're doing. If they feel ahead or behind.
We'll have to ask them when we get to the interview part. So NayIeen making it all the way through chest number 7. And Hesjustaboy is going to elect to go right. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if it's on right side, he has just made up the lead.
Yep.
It's less likely. We've only got 4 chests to work with here. He's going to make the common play of skipping the tile room, leaving it for dead last. Because that is like a 40-second time sink that you don't want to take if you can help it.
Yeah.
And like the other thing about tile room is it's a strong meta play to skip it. Because like 40 seconds may or may not be that much right now. You can't really tell, but you can pretty well bank on the fact that the other person's going to skip tile room as well. So if you don't do it, you're not risking very much. So if the meta were to change, actually, if a lot more people for whatever reason were to start checking tile room on the way in, it'd be a much bigger toss-up.
You are absolutely correct.
Grab that or not. We've got one last chance for the big key here.
Oh my.
Okay, so that's quite a large advantage for NayIeen at this point. Not going to go full right either, not going to go straight to Ice Armos. That may have been the last thing that he needed to pull out a victory here. I mean, we can't call this yet. We still got Ganon, we still got the tower.
Yeah, a lot still in play here, but yeah, Hesjustaboy. At this point, we know, and of course, easy for us to say, but should have gone full right. Like, go ahead and take it all the way to Bob and Armos.
Oh, so NayIeen, you want to bonk over that warp tile because it saves like 7-8 seconds to skip the 2 warps there. He was too low, though he didn't squeeze past the wall by doing so. What he could have done there actually. Probably panicked and didn't think about it, but the beetle was closing in on him. The beetle could have actually pushed him over the warp with iframe.
You are absolutely right. You are also right in that you guessed Bob.
Oh, wow. Funny that. So that was... I wasn't really thinking about the location. Was that actually 14?
14. So, congratulations to Illis24 on your correct guess of 14.
Illis24, actually, one of NayIeen's prior opponents. One of his 3 wins.
Now, I say it every race, and I'm going to say it again. The Gauntlet in Ganon's Tower, one of my favorite things to watch, because it's pure execution at this point. I mean, it's been pure execution for the past 3 dungeons. But at this point, this is the part of the game that is the same virtually every time. Minor NMG differences, or minor RNG differences, rather, as far as where the enemies are going to go and whatnot, but it's still something that you can practice and get down to a science. So I love to see how the players showcase their execution here. So this is my favorite part of the run. And this is also where having that NMG experience is going to pay off. He's just a boy actually getting the bonk skip, so that'll make him up a little bit of time.
Yeah, not really significant this far behind. We've still got Ganon to go. But I really still think NayIeen has a very strong advantage. We saw him practicing Silverless Ganon before the race started, and he was doing really well. He was getting cape spins and stuff.
Oh, and doing the excellent strat there, conserving magic and using the spin from Tempered to kill both of those land modes. So he's going to pick up that Minor Decanter and head up into the next phase of the gauntlet, the Wizrobe Rooms. First Wizrobe Room, pretty easy. The second one requires a bit of setup to get the one cycle. Not a whole lot of setup, but a little bit of a setup. And NayIeen getting the 2 cycle in that room, going to move on past the collapsible bridge into the torch room.
Hesjustaboy is having a bit of trouble with, I guess, silverless mimics, standard mimics. I don't really know what to call them, but it increases the complexity of those rooms by a lot. I think to hit them with 2 arrows instead of just 1.
Well, and I've got to imagine both of these runners are feeling the nerves at this point. I mean, you know, it's set in at this point. You know, you're at the very end of the game. You know, you're an hour 36 in, making pretty good time. Still don't know where your opponent is. You haven't seen him done yet. I mean, this is I could definitely see nerves becoming a factor. So we'll have to see if they can play it cool. Of course, NayIeen's still opting to open the chest. We haven't found silvers yet, so could absolutely be in one of these chests.
Yeah, and this race is close enough that, well, it might not be at this point, but they still could make a difference. I'd say maybe 30 seconds if one person were to find them and the other one isn't. So that's kind of the worry, is that if you don't check these chests and your opponent does, that they're going to find silvers and pass you up.
Yeah, and since they're all along the way, I mean, a minor time investment to save a lot of time on the back end.
It's not as much time as I think some people would believe.
I usually say about 30 seconds, you know, maybe a minute. Depends on your comfort with Silverless Ganon.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable, it can be a minute. It can even be 2, depending. But like, really, like, I think the amount of time silver save is a bit overestimated generally.
When he's just a boy sitting at 3.5 hearts, gonna have to be careful as he makes this last leg.
Oh, taking a hit from that laser.
Yeah, best to be smart. Use the cape here.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to dodge those, but if you're not like super confident in how moving in that room works, it's pretty scary. Would have died to it. And I'm still not sure if he has a fairy. Sorry, a potion.
He's just a boy is gonna skip the last 4 chests. He doesn't know it yet, but that's pretty good for him. That'll make up a bit of time.
I'll make up a bit, not super significant. But NayIeen getting the top right warp in the second cycle, so he didn't get the 1 cycle in the first phase, but the fact that he didn't get it put Ganon in that super easy position for the second phase.
Yeah, it balances it out, makes it easy to land those spins to be able to send Ganon to phase 3. So NayIeen's still holding his advantage as Ganon nears phase 4.
So this is actually close enough that a fall or a death would be really significant. Would change the lead.
Wow, NayIeen getting torch glitch with the fire rod. That's very impressive. Granted, there is a setup for it, but still, that's still very impressive to get.
Oh, almost getting that top right spin. This is a pretty difficult one to set up because the torch you need to light is in the lower left. And you move slower when you have the sword out. Oh, that was a very good hit.
Yes, very good.
One big thing you can tell that separates a good practice Silverless Ganon and more kind of new players is the awareness of where Ganon's fire bats are going to be and what time you want to release the spins at. As NayIeen takes down Ganon.
Yes, that's very good, Silverless. Congratulations to NayIeen, who will be moving on to 4-2.
All right, and official SRTV time of 1:41:02. GG.
All right, we'll see if we can get NayIeen in here for an interview and get his thoughts. He's just a boy. Unfortunately, we're falling to 3-3, but still put on a very solid show of talent here, and he'll be finishing up Ganon here momentarily. And we are joined by NayIeen. Good game. Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Even though I'm shuddering, my heart's beating, my hands are shaking. Holy shit. Sorry for that, but
no.
That was quite the seed. I don't even know. This is worse than any of those I've generated when restreaming.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but it like really came down to where you went in early game. Like, how did you feel about finding the flute an hour in?
That was literally the worst. I was so afraid of that happening, and when I finally found it, my heart was sinking because okay, you could have gotten this way earlier, so your opponent might have done the same. Did he do the same mistake by any chance?
No. He's doing. Would like to point out he's doing a very good Silverless Ganon himself.
All right.
Right now, but he found the flute 15 minutes in. He actually pretty much beelined it to the pyramid after entering Dark World.
Holy. I lucked out, I guess. So what trolled him instead?
A lot of one-off.
He did a lot of... Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay. You go right ahead, Helm.
I'll let you have this one.
No, he did a whole lot of one-off locations. We were very concerned because we were thinking, he was going to find Fire Rod and/or Boots in one of those locations. Because you finding the flute so late, we just were wondering, how far behind that kept putting you. And it was so amazing. You all entered Go mode at about the same time. I'd say not even a second difference between the two. Like,
wow.
It was amazing. It's one of the most exciting finishes I've ever seen. I mean, you guys literally were in Go mode right there, had 3 dungeons left to go. I mean, it was a very exciting finish to watch.
I don't have any words. That is amazing. I'm so looking forward to that VOD, actually.
It'll be a good watch.
Definitely watch this back.
Yeah.
So, GG. He's just...
Go ahead.
Finishing with the time of 1:43:24. I think we will have him pop in shortly.
I sure hope so. Yeah, he posted something about Pod not being very nice. I did the mistake of adhering to a mantra of a friend who likes to say, Pod is always garbage in V29. I was thinking about Pod way earlier, actually, but I did not believe in the Pod.
Yeah, you both went to pod at pretty much the same time.
I see.
Like we said, he did a lot of one-off checks.
I had
before
those
eventually
one-offs in mind as well. Like, since the flute was so late and book was in desert or in Mayashat, I think I was super afraid of there being anything on a tablet or something.
Hello, GG NayIeen.
Hey, Chi-Chi. I'm very happy that we delivered on a really hype and close race, but not like this.
Yeah, welcome to He's Just a Boy who's just joined us.
So how are you feeling after that seed?
Well, I usually like to avoid pendant dungeons, and I think it bit me in the butt a little bit. But I played pretty well. I don't know. I couldn't do the swag things I wanted to do.
You want to hear something interesting?
Yeah.
You and NayIeen entered go mode at pretty much the same time. I mean, it was maybe like a 1 second difference between you guys, 1 or 2 seconds, but you guys were entered go mode right at the same time. And I mean, you guys still had 3 dungeons left to do. It was one of the most exciting finishes we've seen. It was very exciting to watch.
Did you go right side GT, NayIeen?
I like to go left side first.
Yeah, that did make up a lot of, or comprise a lot of the difference.
I wanted to go Dark Magician strats right off the hop, because I really wanted to try that glitch with that fire rod. That was my first time attempting that in Ganon's Tower, but it ended up just costing me time and only worked 50% of it.
Oh, the fire rod entanglement. I noticed you practicing that in Mire at the start.
Yeah.
I missed the attempt at the GT application, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's one last switch where you'd normally throw your Arcana Samaria at it and blow it up twice. And you can set it up so you just shoot a fire rod at the bottom wall and it hits the switch.
Right, okay. I had some people in chat mention that. I didn't catch it myself. I wasn't really aware of it, but it's pretty
did
cool.
not hear about it yet. I definitely need a tutorial for that.
It was literally in the training room maybe a half an hour before our race started. So
that's interesting. Pretty cool stuff.
That was my very first attempt at even trying it, and I was like, well, I gotta try it.
Yeah, I was so looking forward to that Maya thing, but without the fire rod. I mean, bleh.
Yeah, so one interesting thing that stuck out to me is He's Just a Boy did not get the lamp from Thieves Town for quite a while, maybe until an hour in. Shortly before NayIeen grabbed the flute, actually.
Interesting. Oh,
and
I knew the flute.
Because of that, when you went to Hera, you did not have the lamp to check the basement item. And as we saw the race unfold, we had a feeling that it might be significant and might turn the tide of the race. That you didn't have the lamp, but that's like you not having a fire source was also taking you away from going into Mire, which was a crystal. And you also did not have the mirror when you went to the Mire area, so you didn't check checkerboard at that time. So these are all things that NayIeen was able to route in when he was in the area, because he didn't find the flute right away. So when he found Titan's Mitt, he went to Dark Death Mountain before you. Around the same time.
I think.
But yeah, so he had the mirror in the Mire area.
actually wish I did not do Thieves Town, because screw the lamp. And there was nothing else there, like, where...
I agree, screw the lamp. But at that time, I really just needed a fire source of some sort. I was starting to get pretty nervous.
Yeah, I was really banking on early Thieves Town for the lamp turning out into something really great at Tower of Hera, but that wasn't yet another bust, unfortunately.
So there's nothing in the basement?
No. I think it was a heart piece or something.
Yeah, just a small heart piece.
I didn't see, where did Ganon say the silver arrows were?
In Ice Palace.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Which we obviously go-moded.
So it was insane going into pod because you guys were basically synced after so much divergence. And the main difference was he's just a boy. You checked a lot more one-off locations like Graveyard Ledge and Purple Chest that NayIeen had skipped. And if Go mode in its entirety had not been in pod at that point, NayIeen could have lost time doing those additional checks later.
I was so afraid of that happening, actually. I was so happy when I saw the fire rod, but the boots on top right next to that? What are the odds? Don't tell me, but what are the odds?
A part of me told myself when I went into pod, I was like, if I find the fire rod in these first few chests, I'm out of here. And by finding the fire rod so late, I was like, well, I mean, I have to check these last couple ones.
Yeah. You couldn't have made a pod worse in a Blando, actually. All keys, dungeon items. Blah. And then everything backloaded. I was thinking the same, actually. If I find the fire rod, I'm the hell out of here. But glad I didn't.
Yeah, if it was in the Bullock side, it could have been a whole different race.
Indeed. Still,
All right,
GG. I'm so glad we delivered.
Yeah, that was, boys, hats off to both of you. And chat, give these two runners a follow because they absolutely deserve it. One of the most exciting races I've had the pleasure of commentating. So, I mean, it was just amazing. Thank you both. That was an amazing race to watch.
Yeah, I was in particular impressed by NayIeen's Cold Stir fight and both of your Ganon fights.
So glad that worked out because while we were being delayed early on, I did a bit of practice and Cold Stare just wouldn't work correctly. I was always too high. Same for Ganon, I think, going for those hugs.
Yeah, I saw you get a cape spin in your practice before the race, actually. That was insane.
So
Thank you. Looking forward to watching that.
So, wrapping up week 6. Now, NayIeen, you're going to 4-2. You've got one more in you before you possibly make brackets. How do you feel going into week 7? Where's your mind at? Where are your thoughts at? What's your game plan going forward into the final round of Swiss?
To be honest, I'm even more scared than I was of this because I'm dealing with a bit of anxiety each race, but the dream is still alive and I'm really looking forward to next week, actually.
Awesome. Well, he's just a boy. You'll be going to 3-3, not entirely out of the brackets at this point, but we'll rely on a couple of external factors. How do you feel going into week 7?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to take it as it is now. I pretty much will make it into the brackets. It's like, what, like a 1 in 100 chance? So, that's if I win next week as well. So, I don't know. I'm just going to have fun. It's a fun tournament. I just wanted to do my best. Try and end on a positive note.
Well, again, congratulations to both of you. Like I said, two very skilled runners here. Two, very, very solid performances out of both of you. Congratulations again to the both of you.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for all the work you guys put in on commentary. Thanks for tracking. And thanks for the restream, actually. This was the first that I actually enjoyed.
All right, so we've got ALTTP randomizer action all day on Speed Gaming. We have just started not too long ago, I believe, Asazas versus Estolia in Speed Gaming 3. And following this race on right here on Speed Gaming 2, we have Illus24 versus Lavos. Illus being the winner of the big key guessing game today, and also one of NayIeen's prior opponents. On Speed Gaming 1, if you'd like to check out other content, we have Super Mario Odyssey Triple Bingo Race. And yeah, don't forget to follow Speed Gaming 1 through 6. See all the different games that are being showcased on this channel. And if you'd like to see additional ALTTP randomizer matches from this tournament, we also have our volunteer restreamers streaming a good many of them on ALTTP randomizer 1 through 4. So be sure to give those a follow as well. And with that, I think we can wrap up now. So, thank you so much, Jaxus, for commentating with me.
Oh, no, likewise to you. Thank you so much for commentating alongside me. This was great. I had a lot of fun. Like I said, this was a very exciting race to watch. So, yes, I had a blast. I felt like it was great being along for the ride. But again, like I said, shout-outs to both of our runners. Make sure you give them a follow because they absolutely deserve it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that'll be that. So, y'all enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. Plenty more rando coming your way later, coming from Elminster and Jaxus. We'll see you guys later on down the road.